How are you? Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. What's going on, Max?
Of course, I'm doing pretty well here. I'm a little optimistic about the selections in free agency by Joe Douglas. I know we spoke on the phone last week when the frenzy was going on with the Jets, and you said it. We have to give it to Douglas.
Yeah, no, you got to give him credit. I mean, I think he spent his money wisely. I think he spread it out. I think he covered a lot of needs. Once again, it's only on paper, but, I'm very optimistic with, most of the guys he brought in. And I think it kind of narrowed it, at least in my mind, it kind of narrowed it down to how they're going to focus on the draft. I mean, with this influx of talent with AFC quarterbacks now, and I'm sure you heard the news today with Matt Ryan.
Yeah, on the way to
Um,
the Colts.
right, he's on the Colts, and Russell Wilson's with the Broncos, and the Jets have to make a trip to Lambeau to face Rodgers. Um, Man, I think besides the number one receiver, I think they're going to probably target defense. I think early in the draft.
hmm I was reading some mock drafts, and I wasn't too happy about what I was reading. And a current trend that I've been noticing online with the mock drafts is Kayvon Thibodeau. And I know we're not fans of his. I noticed that's been a trending topic lately in the mock drafts, and I really hope that doesn't pan out. And I was hoping in the past few days that the Jets would sign one so that we wouldn't have to draft Kayvon, because we know that there's some issues there that we've heard in the press and just what happened at the combine when he quit early.
Well, they did get that kid Martin from the Texans, I believe it
Jacob
was.
Martin.
Right, but he's more of like a situational role player. I'm not sure. Maybe they factor him in for a half a dozen sacks, but don't kid yourself. They're going to draft an edge rusher at some point in this draft. The Thibodeau thing is, I'm really not concerned so much about his on-field stuff. It's just from everything I've read or spoken to people, he comes with a lot of baggage. And it could be immaturity. It could be work ethic. Who knows? I'm really not sure of details. But, man, I really hope they steer clear of this kid. I think they could find a pass rusher, later in the draft, maybe the second round.
I agree.
And to be quite honest with you, I think those first four picks, I think you're probably going to see, in no particular order, I think you're going to see a wide receiver. I think you're going to see a corner. I think you're going to see a pass rusher. And probably see a linebacker, because the linebacking core right now is probably the weakest unit on the team.
I agree. And N'Kobe Dean is a name to watch out for.
Oh, that's right. Is that the kid from Georgia?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. Yep. That's a guy to watch. And but getting back to free agency, and when we spoke, he added the two tight ends, which I was just absolutely thrilled.
Conklin.
Because did Zach suffer when not having a go-to tight end last year? And now he's got two of them. I think that was a really, really good move by Douglas. And then if you look at the secondary, it's funny, right before I was reading a draft magazine, pre-draft magazine,
hmm
and they break down the position groups. And I was looking at cornerbacks, and then they always have a flashback little section, and they say a swing and a miss, a breakout player. And then there's a section called Diamond in the Rough. And who's the player listed as Diamond in the Rough? He was a fifth-round selection in 2018. It was DJ Reed, who they just got from the Seahawks. So I was happy to read that, I can tell you that.
I was happy when we got him, even though there were people out there that wanted different players. Carlton Davis, I think, was one of them for the Buccaneers, but we didn't end up getting him. And Marcus Williams was a fan favorite who they really wanted, and we didn't end up getting him. But if we got him, I don't think we would have been able to get Jordan Whitehead and DJ Reed.
That's right. I think you're right. I think the money spent for the two of them, you wouldn't have got if you paid, for a big-time corner or a big-time safety.
No.
But the good thing about all of this is they all come from winning programs. I forget if it's three or four of these guys that they brought in. They either played in Super Bowls the last couple of years or conference championships in the last couple of years, and were veteran leaders, and they know how to win. And the Jets last year was so young and so raw It's that I think this is going to be really good locker room and leadership with these guys that they brought in free agency.
Do you think the Jets will make any more moves before the draft? Because it was mentioned online that I don't think we signed Lawson pretty late last year.
Yes, I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, I know I was looking at over the cap, and if you take away 20 for the rookie class, right now they only have about $9 or $10 million left, and you know they could play with the numbers and cut somebody or restructure somebody, and all of a sudden that 9 could turn into 20. But yeah, I would. I think if there's an opportunity to improve the roster, I think Douglas could make a move, and I still think he has something up his sleeve because I don't believe he's going to use 9 picks in the draft. I just don't.
No.
I think whether it's an edge rusher or a receiver or something, I would not be shocked if he trades away a couple of picks and gets another player of need.
I thought the fans were going crazy online because they've been begging for a number one wide receiver, and there were 2 trades that happened recently with Devontae Adams and Robert Woods.
Well, Robert Woods, I don't consider a number one. I put him in the same class as Corey Davis, so I don't think they would have gone that route. Devontae Adams, I understand, but I don't. First of all, why would he come to the Jets? I mean, to go from a program like the Packers to an up-and-coming program, hopefully like the Jets and a young quarterback, but also the money. I don't think the Jets are in position to pay $28 million for a wide receiver.
Some wide receivers that we do have to look out for that are still on the market. I saw the 3 top ones: Odell, Beckham, Jarvis, Landry, and Will Fuller. Would you be surprised if they made a move for one of them if the money was right?
I would. I think Fuller has had injury problems his whole career. Beckham, I think that you just look, that's not happening. And I'd be shocked. I really would. I think unless something like really, just came out of left field, I think they're very comfortable just taking a receiver, probably a 10. I wouldn't be shocked. And whether it's Garrett Wilson or the kid from USC,
Drake London.
I think one of these 2 are probably going to end up on the Jets.
It's very possible, but then I'm seeing all these other knock drafts in the news saying that the Jets could trade out to gain capital next year in the draft. And I feel as though the Jets, they should just use their 2 picks that they have this year, because you can't keep prolonging preparing for the year after. I want to build now.
That's right. I totally agree. I think, Douglas's first couple of years, I understand doing that because, he has, some type of plan on how he wants to build his team. But, I don't want to hear that they're going to start acquiring more picks for next year and they have X amount of money for draft cap, for the cap space. I want to start building the team now and winning now. I don't want to know that they have 10 picks in next year's draft. That's not going to do me any good. I want quality players. If you scouted and you did your homework right, and I mean, it's all a crapshoot. There's no sure thing, but it's time. Like last year, he had on about 4 players last year. He's got to do the same thing this year.
I agree. He's got to hit on the top 4 picks, the first and second round. It's a must, and I think he should be able to, depending on how the staff is working and if they're doing their homework, as you said. But I'm a little worried about the offensive line coach. I don't know if you heard in the news that he was caught with a DUI this past weekend. I don't know if you saw that news report come up.
Yeah, I did, and that's kind of disturbing, but I'm not sure how the Jets are going to handle that situation. We'll see how that goes. But, once again, I think the 2 biggest question marks right now, probably, I'll put them in this order. The biggest question mark for me is what is Beckham going to turn into?
Mm-hmm.
That's my biggest issue. I would have loved to bring Morgan Moses back. I think we spoke about that last week.
That's right.
It didn't happen. Who is, you want to pencil in Becton as your starting right tackle? Great. I got, even if he goes to left tackle and, they bounce Fant to right, I don't think that's happening. But either way, Becton needs competition. He's got to be pushed. And Conor McDermott, he's a nice utility player, but he's certainly not going to push Beckham.
No.
You know, they have to find somebody, and you know, I don't know who that guy is. I mean, I'll tell you one thing: if one of those tackles are available at 4, and the Jets happen to take one of them, Beckton's gone. You know he's getting traded that night or the next day.
Oh yeah, I think that would happen.
Yeah. There's no way they're going to take a tackle with the 4th pick in the draft and let the guy just sit on the bench if Beckham happens to win the job. There's no way that's going to happen.
No. And I think Linderbaum, I really hope he's not out of the question, but it's starting to look, because the Jets have so many needs at this point with wide receiver. I think the fan base is going to uproar if we don't get a wide receiver at 10. I mean, they're so hungry for a number 1 wide receiver. It's insane. So I don't know if we trade back. I really don't want to trade back. I just want to keep the picks that we have. And I don't think Linderbaum, we're going to get him at this point.
No, and you know what? As much as I'm really not that thrilled with Conor McGovern, I guess you could live with him for another year. I mean, if something, it wouldn't surprise me if they draft a center later in the draft, if they see something with some potential, or maybe if they could upgrade it between now and June 1st. But as much as I thought Lindenbaum could be one of the Jets pick, you know, at 10, I just don't see it right now. I think receiver, you know, and edge rusher and corner and linebacker, those are 4 much more needy positions than a center at this point.
I agree. It's going to be interesting because all last year, if you think about it, the first picks in the draft last year were for Zach Wilson. I think it's going to be a change of scenery this year. I think you're going to see more defense heavy and then a wide receiver.
I agree. Like I said, the first, whatever numbers they get to pick these guys at, their first and second round, the 4 picks, 3 defensive players and a receiver. I'd be stunned if it's anything different than that.
I'm curious to see what moves Douglas is going to make here before the free agency period comes to an end here and we're finally at the draft. But I'm waiting because the mock drafts are still all over the place. Every day it's a different player the Jets are drafting, whether it's a tackle, whether it's Kyle Hamilton, and a big name that we could look out for is Ahmad Gardner. I don't know if you've noticed his name come up a lot.
Yes, I have, and you know, it wouldn't shock me. I mean, you know, Bryce Hall and Echols did a really nice job last year, but you know, this kid Reed is going to come in and start. You know, he's got one of the spots, and you know what? I mean, if Gardner's that good, I mean, if he's a Revis type of player, how do you pass on that at 4? You can't.
You can't. Would you be more satisfied with going with Gardner over Kyle Hamilton?
Oh, yeah. 100%. Now, once again, if they would happen to take Hamilton, I'd be surprised. But they better be right. They better be right at that, you know, however they want to use him. I mean, I think right now Whitehead and Joyner is not a bad combination back there at safety. I mean, let's put it this way. If they happen to take Hamilton at 4, this kid better be Ronnie Lott, Ed Reed, whoever else you want to mention.
Palomalo.
You know, Palomalo. That's the type of player this guy got to be. And I just don't know if he's cutting that mold.
No, I don't know. We never know. We thought Adams was going to pan out, and then he fought his way out of here, and we saw what's happening in Seattle. He's not really panning out there, and he's injured. And we really have to make the right choice here. And I'm hoping... the only thing that scares me is if we do go with Kayvon. I know it's the off-field issues, but I'm having a bad feeling just how the offseason shaped out, even though we did bring in Jacob Martin, that we're going to go with Kayvon.
Yeah, I'd be pretty concerned if they drafted him. I really would, you know. I think, I think he could be one of the biggest boom or bust guys in the draft.
I agree.
Yeah. And I'm not willing to take that chance.
No. I think we should help out Zach Wilson at as much as we can instead of getting him at that position. And even with the Zach Wilson, me bringing him up, how do you feel about them bringing back Flacco on a 1-year deal for backup?
I wasn't thrilled about it. You know, once again, I'm not in the building when they're having their meetings and stuff, but I just on the sidelines, I didn't see Flacco interacting with Wilson that much. And, if Wilson will get hurt, Flacco hasn't won a game yet as a Jet backup. I know
No.
he's been on some bad teams, but at this point, I would have really rather seen them upgrade. Whether it was an Andy Dalton, I know Mariota, where he signed with somebody today as a
I think it was the
starter. He went to
Falcons.
Atlanta, right? So it's off the board. But I mean, I kind of get it with Flacco and his connection with Douglas, but I think it was time to turn the page. You know what? Maybe crazy things happen. Maybe White is better in the summer and they cut Flacco. Who knows? You don't know.
You never know. And then if God forbid, Mike White went down and they'd have to trade for Flacco again like they did last year because they didn't bring Flacco back on a contract deal.
That's right. So I think they'd probably keep all three quarterbacks and, that's take it, how many quarterbacks are playing the whole season? Probably half the league these guys go down. So I think it's very important to have as many as you can. And I think the Jets are in a position to do it. And talking about quarterbacks, it just shows you how much of a crapshoot the draft is. If you remember, go back to Sam Darnold's draft, right?
Yeah.
And, you heard all the shows and heard all the experts and, this class, this is Aaron Marino, John Elway, Jim Kelly, and so you have Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen. They're all busts. They're all busts.
They are. What's insane is that I wanted Mayfield first and Allen second, and that Allen was panning out for the Bills right now, but Mayfield I was high on because he was great in college, and he just didn't pan out.
Yeah, it wasn't his ability. I just didn't like his cockiness, and but it turns out that the Browns are going to trade him. And I was reading something earlier is that the Panthers are in talks with them. And I mean, would it be? I mean, how crazy is it that the Panthers could end up with Donald and Mayfield on the same team, and they're both trying to rectify their careers? I mean, these two guys were supposed to be like, yellow jacket guys coming out, into the draft.
Like Roethlisberger and Phillip Rivers.
yeah. And now all of a sudden they're both going to could be on the Panthers. One is a backup and one is a starter. And they both have failed with their first team.
Unbelievable. Then you have the whole Watson scenario going on right now, and the league is in an uproar because he's going to the Browns.
I know. I'm not sure how that thing's going to play out. You would think, and listen, where there's smoke, there's fire, and I hope he gets his life and career back in order. But you would think Roethlisberger got suspended 4 games for that incident that he had years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, if the NFL, I know it's civil suits, however they get to handle this, if they come down hard on him, you would think he's going to get a minimum of 6 games, right?
I would think so. I think there's going to be some punishment because there's just too much uproar in the media, especially on ESPN and First Take this morning. People aren't happy about it.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
No.
But with that said, how about the money? How about that they guaranteed him $230 million?
That's insane. That is insane. If I were the Browns, I would have traded for someone else or just stuck with Mayfield because it's too much of a risk. This is why I didn't want the Jets to get Watson, because what if more cases come up? You never know what's going to happen. You never know. And once, like you said, where there's smoke, there's fire. We don't need gasoline thrown onto that fire.
Certainly not. And I think this is why the Cleveland Browns are Cleveland Browns. They seem to be going in the right direction. They did make the playoffs with Mayfield, 2 years ago, was it?
That's right.
And now all of a sudden, it's like they gave away picks, they gave away starters, they gave away $230 million, and now they don't know if they have a quarterback who's going to play 17 games for them next year. I mean, it's crazy.
It's insane. I'm just glad that we don't have Watson, and we're rolling with Wilson here, and I just hope he develops. I think year 2 will be a big leap for him. It should be. I mean, with the weapons that they're providing him, and let's see how the draft plays out here. But I think there is no excuse for Zach not to progress in year 2.
No, I totally agree. I mean, you got Davis. Hopefully, he's going to be healthy. You got Moore. More than likely, you're going to get a receiver, in the first round. And, we haven't touched on it yet. And we were both very concerned. I can't believe I underestimated the market value for Berrios.
That's right. I was just going to bring that up. I mean, our number one signing here on the offseason, who we wanted to bring back for a while now, and they should have did it in the regular season before the offseason began, Braxton Berrios.
I know. And what's his name? Drew Rosenhaus is his agent. I mean, the Jets got him for 2 years, $12 million, but they only had to guarantee $7 million. So they got him for like next to nothing. It's hard to believe.
It's insane. And that's how you build that winning culture, because that's what's needed to form a winning team, is keeping the players that bring value to the team. And he brings it on special teams and on the offense as a wide receiver.
That's right. And if you heard some of his comments afterwards, he told his agent, he wasn't chasing every penny. He wanted to be with the Jets. And that's nice to hear. And that's the type of guy, in the past, we let go. Mm-hmm. So, kudos to Saleh and Douglas for keeping this guy in the building, because I thought it was an important thing, especially for the fan base, because we would have all been like screaming if Berrios ended up somewhere else.
On the Patriots or the Bills. But we do have to look out for the Bills, because if I knew that you probably saw it already just by reading the papers with Von Miller heading there now on the Buffalo Bills.
I know. It's the Bills are so loaded. I mean, if they stay healthy, how do they not win this division by 2-3 games? I don't even see the Patriots competing with them that much.
No,
I really don't.
Especially with the addition of O.J. Howard as a tight end too.
Yep, I think the Bills. You could make the argument. I think the Bengals are a good team. I don't think they were a Super Bowl team last year, even though they should have won that game. But, just like the Giants in 2011, they went on a run. Mm-hmm. But I just think on paper, and I think the Bills, I'm going to take, I think they're better than the Chiefs. I think the Bills right now in the off season going into this new year, I think they're the number one team in the AFC.
I agree. And they just signed Juju Smith-Schuster, the Chiefs, as a wide receiver.
That's right. I mean, at this point, I like McDermott as a coach. I know he's made his mistakes in some big games. But, if they stay healthy, there is no excuse for them not to get to the Super Bowl next year.
No. And it's scary as a Jets fan when you see these moves made, because it's just, we have to go up against this in our division. We just finished the Patriots a couple years ago with Brady. Now we have to go up against the Bills. I just want to know, when is it our time?
Well, that's it. I mean, realistically, the Jets right now they're a better team than they've been for the last 5 years, and they haven't even had a practice yet.
No.
But you add whatever they do in the draft and whatever else moves that Douglas does, they're going to be a much improved team, but I don't know how that equates to wins or positioning in the AFC, because if you look at all the moves in the AFC, you probably have like 7 to 8 Pro Bowl quarterbacks right now. And now you add Matt Ryan to it, and he's another, ex-Pro Bowl quarterback. Mm-hmm. So now there's 9 of them. There's only 16 teams in the division. There's only 7 playoff spots. You're going to get a couple of these Pro Bowl quarterbacks. They're not going to make the playoffs. Where does it leave a team like the Jets, who are like doing a program and trying to develop a quarterback?
It leaves a shutout again. I hope not. I hope, because it's any given Sunday, just like when we did beat the Bengals in the regular season, and we played a great game against the Buccaneers. But I think we're really going to have to pull out wins here. I think there's going to have to be put forth 100% of effort here by the players. That's the only way we're going to get in, is we have to win games.
That's right. And they, if you look at the quarterbacks they face this year, they got now Wilson, and they go out to Denver to face Wilson. Who knows? Maybe they go to Seattle and the Baker Mayfield. I told you they got Rodgers. They got Allen twice. They got Watson if he's not suspended against the Browns. I mean, you're talking about tough opponents.
It doesn't get any easier. Just when you thought that maybe this would be the year, and no matter what the Jets' record is, despite how many losses they have, the schedule is always difficult. It always is for this team. It's never an easy schedule.
No, it never is. But you know what? Nobody's going to care, and nobody's going to make excuses. You got to go out and you got to play the games. And let's just hope that everything clicks and Wilson, makes that jump and turns into the quarterback that we both thought he would be, and that Salah grows as a coach, and maybe it'll surprise us.
Mhm. I hope so, and I think they will. I think they should, because it's year 2 in the process here with Wilson and Salah, and then Douglas is on his 4th year, so he knows that he's on the hot seat. So I think.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I just think that there's got to be some progress made here, and it better be a better season than last year. It better be.
Yeah, I mean, if they win 4 or 5 games and they get blown out like 3 or 4 games, like 20, 30 points like last year, that's not good. That's not going to sit well with Woody Johnson. At this point, you just can't have that anymore.
No,
that's unacceptable.
No. The fans can't. They don't deserve that. They deserve to see wins. I mean, we're going on 12 years here without a playoff appearance.
That's right. And I mean, I don't want to be like a negative Nelly, but unless something, they catch fire. I mean, in Vegas, what are the odds are that the Jets make the playoffs this coming year? You know what I mean?
I know. It's insane. I just want them to get back to it. But the draft, I think it's best player available. And besides Kayvon, I really don't want him. We don't want him. So I think it's best player available. We have to trust Douglas and his judgment here on who he drafts with the 4th pick and 10th. I think it's a receiver.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the way to go. I think it's going to be Wilson from Ohio State. I'd be surprised if it's anybody else. Mm-hmm. And then where we go? And it's amazing. I heard on the radio that they report to the off-season conditioning program like in 2 weeks. It's like time is just flying by. Before you know it, it'll be OTAs, mini camp. You have training camp, and then all of a sudden the season will kick off in September. It's crazy.
I'm looking forward to it because I want to see the development of this team with Zach Wilson in year 2. I think it's going to be a better season than last year and the years before. And I think it's the only way is up from here. I really don't see how they can go backwards. I mean, anything's possible, but
no, there's no way. No. We've seen some very inept football the last 5 years. And I think those days are over. I think you're going to start seeing, they're going to win games. They're going to lose a good share of their games. But I think maybe they'll pull a couple of surprises this year, and I think you're going to see the direction of the building of this team, and then it's going to come down to the following year. The following year is the year they got to make the major jump. Yeah. 2023. Got to be a playoff season. It has to. There's no more excuses at that point.
I agree with you. And even Salah said it, year 3 will be great. Because he did say that this year, he's like, don't get too hyped up for this year, but the 3rd year will be great.
Well, I hope he's right. I'll give him a little pass. I wasn't thrilled about the comment, but he didn't lie about last year.
No.
He said last year was going to get worse before it got better, and that's how it played out. In the last month, they were a lot more competitive. He already set the bar low for this year. But that doesn't mean they can't go forward. So if that's how it plays out, then, man, he better be right about year 3.
He better be. And then it's going to be another revolving door. And I don't even want to start thinking about that. Because once you get rid of the coach, there goes the quarterback.
and then the GM.
Yeah.
And once again, you start all over again. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think these guys have a pretty good plan. And I'm just glad they attacked free agency right out of the gate the way they did. And we didn't even talk about Tomlinson, the guard. Right? Yeah, I mean, they get themselves a Pro Bowl guard that played in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. I mean, you could see that Douglas, he tightened the belt a little this year, and he said, it's time, and he put his foot on the gas, and I think he did a really good job.
I think so too, especially now overpaying for players. I think they were great additions. I don't have a problem with any of the signings in the offseason. I really don't.
Nope, I totally agree with you. I know a couple of fans are screaming for a receiver, but I think they're very content McGovern won in the draft. Remember, Santana Moss was the last receiver that they took in the first round, and that's 21 years ago.
So let's hope that they pick another one in this year's draft, whether it's Drake London, Garrett Wilson, or even Chris Olave.
I totally agree, and whoever they pick, just better be the right guy. That's all I could say.
Mm-hmm. Our number one receiver too, and number one.
That's right. That would be very, very nice. It's going to be interesting to see how they use a rookie and incorporate him with Davis and with Elijah Moore. I know LaFleur likes to move people around in the slot and outside. So, and you got your tight ends, you got your running back. So they brought Tevin Coleman back. So I think they were really, really good shape. They got Michael Carter. So there's no more excuses. It's time to go out there, be competitive, win football games. And, even if they come up short of the playoffs, at least, after Thanksgiving, just, be relevant. When the TV they put on, the seeding, and then they have like 6 teams that are in the hunt. That's all I ask for. Just, the second week of December, let me see, on the TV screen that the Jets are in the hunt for playoff spot.
It would be nice because usually the season's over by week 2.
That's right. So that would be very refreshing, and it would be nice to see. And let's hope for the best.
Yep. I'm looking forward to it. Ira, is there anything else that we should cover here that we didn't cover, or is that pretty much it?
No, I think we got it. I think we got everything. Yeah. So, once again, I appreciate you having me. Always, I enjoy it. And I think hopefully we'll talk right after the draft. Anything pops up, I'm sure we'll talk.
Oh, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. We'll do some draft talk, and hopefully that we're happy with the picks. If Kayvon happens, we know what's going to happen then. We're not going to be too happy about that.
No, that's not going to go over well. But you know what? If they happen to pick him, they just better make sure they can handle him. Like I said, I'm not concerned about I think he could play.
I think that's not my concern. It's the off season. It's the off the field issues.
Right. It's the money. It's his attitude, his maturity. I think that's a lot to do, and that's the thing that scares me the most.
Yeah. Yep. We don't need another Jamal Adams. We don't need another Sheldon Richardson fighting with Brandon Marshall in the locker room.
Muhammad Wilkinson. No, you don't want that stuff. You really don't. So. All right. Well, listen, be well, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, Ira, be well. Enjoy the rest of your night. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too, Ira.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.